Yeah, I'd come up with a transition rather than just boo appear.
Yeah, well, I don't know why there isn't any transitions on there, but either way, hello and welcome to TRS Media Live.
Again.
I'm your host, Michael J. I'm joined as ever by my co-host,
See,
Matt J.
It's not us watching. See, there's no concurrent view.
I disagree. Restore the chat.
Restore it. There we are.
See, look, now it's caught up again.
Yeah, we've scared away that one person.
Yeah. I told him leave or say something.
That is right.
So-
You did say that.
We're here to discuss the Winter Soldier and the Falcon.
Yep, we're gonna
Swaff.
I
said Falcon. I said Winter Soldier and the Falcon.
that realistically, that's how I would want to see it. But
Actually, no. Swaff would be Soldier Winter and the Falcon.
man, live TV.
I just don't give a fuck anymore. Did you delete the old stream?
I'll do that while we're talking. Anyway, welcome everybody. We're going to do a spoiler-heavy review of last week's episode and then talk about what we expect for the upcoming episode. Please join us in the chat if you are happen to be one of the awesome people that get to watch this. And I'll leave it over, hand it over to Michael. Give me your general thoughts of the first episode. Dong ding.
You know what that sounds like?
What?
Sounds like the V'ger music.
Actually, you're right. It does a little bit. But yeah. Go on.
That basically sums up how I felt. It was
It was the motion picture.
to be honest, if we hadn't have watched it again tonight before we did this live, I would have probably forgotten just about everything that happened. I remembered there was an action set piece, which was fine, typical high quality Marvel Cinematic Universe sort of stuff. It might be a little bit of a nightmare for physics teachers, but it was a spectacle nonetheless. When you think about it being a TV series, right? It's probably better than some of the stuff we've seen on television in the past. We get mostly a lot of character development. There's not really a lot of story beats in this episode, which is fine. It's to be expected, as we discussed with last week's live, and that to me is actually where the episode stands on its feet, is when it's concentrating on developing Sam and Bucky, because we don't know anything really about them. We don't know a lot anyway. They've mostly... Hey,
Hello, Kashal. Good evening. Oh, good morning, probably where you are.
It's mostly just they were sidekicks, as we discussed last week, so it was very nice to see the character development, and that's pretty much where it's at. For one episode in, it's just a little bit of character development. There was even Laurie, but we got a couple of little plot elements here and there. But as far as the overall episode, it gets a pass. I like I say, it was a little bit forgettable. If I hadn't watched it again with you, I wouldn't have remembered half of what happened in it. But I still think it was fine. It was good.
Yeah.
I would imagine we're mostly affected by MCU fatigue a little bit. If this was your first endeavor into the Marvel Cinematic Universe and you've never seen any of the movies, I'm pretty sure you would probably enjoy it. You'd be like, oh, we get some action, we get some intrigue and some character conversations and some character beats, and so yeah, it gets a pass. That's it. It's 51%. It's passing grade.
For me, it was mediocre. I'm going to use rather than the word passing grade just to repeat what you said. I liked some of the nods and winks back to old Marvel properties and stuff. The opening set piece was poor, I think. Not because of what it looked like or how it was shot. It wasn't believable. And now, if that had been Iron Man doing that sequence, I'd have believed it, but it wasn't. It was Falcon. So
it makes you wonder why isn't he just flying around in an Iron Man suit?
Yeah, why you get an Iron Man suit? You get an Iron Man suit.
Is the wingsuit his? Is it like, does it just belong to him now? It's his property.
Well, it was made for him by Stark Tech, but the entire episode to me was like, again, maybe because I was expecting way too much. I was a bit like, meh.
Yeah, because I wasn't expecting anything.
And yet it delivered in some areas. Like all the Bucky Barnes stuff, the Winter Soldier stuff, was really good. All the Falcon stuff was a bit shit.
Well, okay, I'll let you continue, but I just want to clarify.
Get your finger out of my
the Sam Wilson stuff was fine.
Yeah.
But you mean like when he was being Falcon when he was.
No, that was the stuff that was fine. I just didn't find any of the.
You really don't like Sam Wilson's character, do you?
Yeah, I don't know whether it's Anthony Mackie or whether it's just the character. I just the episode left me wanting more of the Winter Soldier and less of the Falcon.
Yeah, but we discussed that in our preview last week, though, as well, that we already are predisposed to the character of the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
We like him more. We think he got snubbed at the end of Endgame. So that's where, say, your expectations might be clouding your judgment, young Padawan.
Passing grade, mediocre. Let's delve into it and go through it.
All right, so the episode begins, as we said, with a...
What did you think, Cashel? Did you enjoy it?
You should minimize this, though, so we can see what's going on, all the analytics.
Ah, yeah, good point, yeah.
We,
Yeah, because we could see...
We start... Oh, for fuck's sake. We start the episode with a set piece, as we discussed, in which the Falcon is being contracted out as a government contractor. That's what they explain that later on in the episode, but I was wondering for a little while, I was like, what's his job? Who is he? Is he doing this as an Avenger or what? But he was actually doing it kind of in the same way that Captain America and Black Widow were doing this mission against the same guy in the Winter Soldier, where they were just being hired by the US government to bring in a terrorist, or
no,
in this case, rescue someone from a terrorist.
No, because they're part of S.H.I.E.L.D., so they're part of the American government. They're not just being contractors. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s not a private organisation.
But my point being is it wasn't the Avengers.
Correct.
So we've got Falcon coming in, flying in, chasing down it's a Hercules, right?
Yes, C-130.
An AC-130.
No, C-130.
So it's an AC-130.
It is the gunship.
With the...
Yeah, with the pew-pews. That's the one. So, yeah.
Yes, we begin with that, and as you said, kind of underwhelming. I thought it was fine. It was done well, but the physics are where the problem's at. You don't need to keep checking that.
I just want to say what it is.
But checking that drains the bit rate. I don't understand how wingsuits work, apparently, because I thought a wingsuit was just more of like increase your center of mass so that you can fall slower. I didn't think it actually worked like the like an actual wing on a plane.
It doesn't.
It doesn't create lift or anything. It just slows you down. Because whenever I see a wingsuit jump, like those Red Bull jumps, if the moment they pull up, that's it. They have to pull their chute, or they have to start going down again. There's no lift being generated in a wingsuit.
So there is some lift, but not the lift that they're thinking. It's not like Sam's wingsuit where he actually has wings and propulsion to generate lift. It's using the forward speed of the fall to generate some lift to slow the rate at which they fall, which is why when you watch wingsuit jumpers who base jump and you see them crazily whipping down the mountainside, they're still going down, but they're close to the ground because the ground's sloping away. That's where this, what do you call it? Opening sequence fails for me. It takes...
They had no choice but to make it some kind of aerial combat situation because he's the Falcon.
So perfect.
It's like the Aquaman problem.
Has to fight.
It's got to be in the ocean, or else what are you gonna do, buddy? Like,
well, this is kind of like what this is what I'm getting at. The whole wingsuit thing was just poor for me, and because it didn't. It was the wingsuit was fine for the first part until they went into the canyon. Then it made no sense whatsoever. There's no way you can fly through a canyon in a wingsuit because you're still going down. So for the distance they had to travel, that canyon would have to be like 12 miles deep. It's just not doable.
Well, tell me though, does this border on nitpicking though?
No.
Why?
Because it was the main opening sequence of your series.
Okay, right. Tell me why it's not nitpicking, though. Because if you're talking physics, then Iron Man suits have to be thrown out the window. Super soldier serums have to be thrown out the window.
Okay.
Like, this, all that set piece serves to do is to show us that the Falcon kicking ass. He's kicking ass, taking names, and saving...
Cashy checks.
And saving...
Snapping necks.
So I wanted to say saving babes, but it's like he saves a soldier.
Well, right, so it's because they specifically used a wingsuit. Now, why didn't they all have... Now, it would have made more sense if they'd have all had wings like Sam.
But then he'd have been outnumbered and he wouldn't be special.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, exactly what Kushal said there. That you had to establish Falcon as a hero since he no longer is a sidekick.
Which is
exactly.
Which is fine. And everything Falcon does, his flying and the little red fucking Robin thing, whatever it's called, those bits were good. But wingsuiting over a distance... Now, there'll be some people on the internet that looked at that map that his ranger buddy has and worked out the distance, worked out the altitude they would have had to be to wingsuit that distance. And I bet they would have had to be in space. It just was stupid.
Yeah, but Spider-Man has, like, spider fingers so he can climb walls. It's stupid.
But he has superpowers. George St. Pierre in a wingsuit ain't superpowers.
How do you know?
If they were wingsuits from Asgard with Asgardian technology in them, then yeah. But they weren't.
I feel it's nitpicking. But I will give you this. The nitpick becomes a gripe for you personally because you are an aviator. You understand these things. If you're not an aviator, you're just going to be like, Falcon's kicking the shit out of these guys.
Those were wingsuits made of nanotechnology stolen from Stark. That's how they managed to put them on so quick. They just pressed the button.
Yeah, because that didn't add up to me. Like, so he shoots at him, right? And they run into towards the door with their prisoner, and he shoots at Falcon. And I asked you the question, is like, wait a second, is he like, how was he so quick to pull up his wings? And you're like, oh no, it's Stark tech. It detected the bullets, and then but he pulls up his wing, dodges the bullets, and then as soon as he takes his wing down, he turns around and they're all in wingsuits.
Yeah, I know.
Like, that's some Superman stuff, and they didn't even have a phone booth. Like, how the hell did they do that?
Well, we just have to rock with it.
It's a good conversation, but we can't keep doing this. We're going to have to start doing it live from me hosting you on a Zoom call.
No, because I'd still have to stream to you. So
no, Zoom calls. Matthew, I do my Metal Mondays with Phil, and he's in the fucking jungle in Suriname.
He's in the, but look what he looks like.
No,
he looks like he's in the
you
jungle.
don't need a lot of internet to Zoom call.
Well,
you
anyway.
need good bitrate in order to stream.
We might be moving out of here anyway. So
yeah.
So the opening sequence for me did a job. It's what Kushal said. Showed us that Sam is now a hero in his own right. But it left me just going, eh.
Is everything closed?
Yeah. See? All closed.
Okay, so moving on. Yep, he saves the day. And he also kind of like... At first I thought what he was doing, his tactics where he was trying to be like Cap and not kill people. But then he like throws that one guy at a rock and then blows up a helicopter. I was like, oh, okay, no. So he's just going to murder these people. All right. I guess not really.
There's nothing wrong with a good bit of hero murder.
It's not really murder, you know. They're the bad guys, right?
Yeah.
So then Sam basically hooks up after the whole skirmish with his Army Ranger friend who was watching from the ground, who I don't remember the character's name. I'm sure I'll figure out the names as we go through the series. But they're on the streets of what town? What country are we in?
I can't remember. But you keep putting your pages
somewhere in Northern Africa, right, or the Middle East?
Middle East, because they were about to get fly into Libyan airspace.
Yeah, isn't Libya in Northern Africa?
What difference that would have made to the Falcon, who's obviously a private contractor?
Yes, but nonetheless, he's with his Army Ranger friend having tea, and he's fixing. I think he's fixing his little sidekick robot thing, right?
Yeah,
and he basically informs him, and thus informs us, the viewers, of the Flag Smashers, which is honestly the worst. I don't care if it's from the comics. It is the worst name for like a terrorist organization I've ever heard. It's like, yeah, man, let's go smash some flags.
Yeah. So
yeah, we do have some comments.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to.
We're having these issues with the internet like we did last week, and it's causing us to not be able to see the chat. However, the chat is displaying. Tunisia. There we go. So Northern Africa, right?
Yeah, Northern Africa next to Libya. Funny enough.
I know, I was shocked. He was straight up killing people.
Hey,
that's what I thought of. Is, you know, the guy from Rick and Morty, the assassin? Oh boy, here I go killing again. That's what I thought of with Sam, like just jumping out of his plane. So,
yeah, because Cap, when he fights I'm assuming the same terrorist organization in the beginning of the Winter Soldier, does everything possible not to kill those terrorists.
I can't help it with my papers, sorry. So, yeah, we find out about the Flag Smashers. and it's just kind of a little bit of, it's just an exposition dump at this point. There's nothing really truly made of it, just so that we know that this Army Ranger guy, he's investigating it.
Yeah.
And we get a little bit of banter between these two. You get the impression they're friends and they've known each other. They've been working with each other for a little bit now. And this group, the Flag Smashers, just to clarify, they founded upon the idea that the blip was a good thing, and they thought the world was better off before everybody came back from the dead.
Yeah, because we get the sense that when over the 5 years, the world, or what was left of the world, has come together as like one unit, and then now that everybody's back, they're all separating off and doing their own thing.
Okay, so see that now, when you say the villain is called Flag Smasher, that I think's better than an organization called the Flag Smashers.
Yeah,
That adds a little context that makes me appreciate the name a little bit better. So, anyways, we find out there's apparently a conspiracy amongst fans of Captain America that Cap is still with everyone and still alive, and he's on a base on the moon. I thought that was a neat little thing. But then we immediately go to a ceremony where Captain America's shield has been retired, which actually brings me back to the very first...
you mean when the iron was on the board, and which is a link to Iron Man, and the Iron Man's going to show up in the Falcon?
No. The iron is pointed like a devil's horn.
The iron is Mephisto.
Or the herald of the coming of Mephisto.
No, Mephisto shows up at the end.
Yeah, so but I just wanted to actually quickly jump back to that scene though, because I was like, oh wait, are they going to be like, is he going to Captain America's funeral or something? Did Steve die?
And again, I think it was intentionally shot like that, because I thought the exact same thing. Him putting on a dark coloured suit, very somber music, somber look at the shield.
But it turns out the world is already aware that he's quote-unquote dead, and this was just like a ceremony where he was relinquishing the shield to the Smithsonian Museum to go into the Captain America exhibit, which kind of cool. And immediately, what were we talking about last week? One of our theories is what side characters...
How many episodes before we get a cameo?
Yeah, and
I think it was something like
and immediately we
18
have
minutes.
Rhodey. We got War Machine. I even texted you as I was watching it 5 minutes, and I was like, "Oh crap, we got War Machine already."
Oh no, Charlotte. We don't think Old Man Cap is dead, but we think that it's not being made knowledge that he's Old Man Cap, and that Cap gave his life, same as Tony Stark did, to defeat Thanos, so that Cap can have his peaceful retirement.
The general public are under the impression that he's no longer with us. So Rhodey asks, why didn't you do it? Why didn't you take up the mantle?
And Sam says, because I'm not a super soldier and I'd instantly be killed.
Although he was kind of holding his own on that plane. Man, he was moving like he was. Maybe he's been given the serum off screen. You never know.
I could not throw the shield more than 20 feet.
But we also get some more exposition as well from Rhodey. It's not just him dropping that question on him and why he didn't want to do it, but Sam tells us that, essentially kind of reinforcing what he says to Cap at the end of Endgame, that it feels like it's somebody else's.
It's an exact quote. That's exactly what it said.
It feels like somebody else's, and then we get some more exposition from Rhodey that the world hasn't really come back in peace and harmony after the blip. The world is struggling, and as a matter of fact, I thought it was a very interesting concept. Just delving into, not theory crafting here, but delving into just discussing the topic that Thanos was kind of right. That the world was probably on its way to a precipice of annihilation. Yeah, because when people were gone, the world had united. And the world was working towards to recovering and bettering itself, whereas all these people blip back, and all of a sudden, all of the forgotten hatreds and all of the borders and all of the nations have all fractured again, and now there's war again in the world.
We discussed this when Infinity War and Endgame came out, long before we started our YouTube channel, that the thing that made Thanos such a compelling villain was he kind of had a point. He's way about going to do it, because what would have made more sense, instead of snapping his fingers and snapping half the population of the universe out of the thing, would have been snapping his fingers and doubling the resources.
The only thing is that he forgot about entropy.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, he should have...
Somebody needed to remind Thanos of what entropy is, and that the universe is designed... reality is designed to go from being ordered to being disordered. So, he didn't need to hasten entropy like he did.
No.
Because when you do that, what's going to happen? Everything's going to settle down again, and things are going to start building up again.
Yeah.
And before you know it, all the problems that he solved by snapping would happen again. So is his solution because he destroyed the stone, so he couldn't argue and turn around and say, I would do a second snap when needed, or do a third snap or a fourth snap or whatever.
But he should have snapped double resources rather than half the population. So, but anyway, we're getting off topic.
What is the possibility of Rhodey showing up in his armor? Well, we'll get into that when we talk about theory crafting. I think.
Yeah.
So moving on, we cut back now to a flashback of Bucky dreaming of one of his sleeper missions where he kills a janitor.
And again,
poor janitor.
Great throwback to him as the Winter Soldier. He's not wearing his eyeliner, but the old Hail Hydra, and he's got his long hair. But then a very good nod to one of the films is when he wakes up. We see him asleep on the floor, and he's struggling to sleep. It's the same problem that Cap had when Cap woke up and he first met Sam. And Sam says, having trouble sleeping? It's the beds, they're too soft. So I like that. That was another good nod back to the Captain America franchise. So the sequence was good to see him as the sequence was good to see him as the Winter Soldier again. And again, until you pointed out the second time, him killing the janitor to me was just like,
we'll get there.
It's just the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, but the important thing is that this is character development. There's not much in regards to the plot going on here. It's continuing along the lines of character development. We started off with some development for Sam, and now we're straight into it with Bucky, because again, we didn't really know anything about Bucky other than that he was pretty much Steve's best friend, and then the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Even in Civil War, there's not really much goes on. We just kind of like have that scene where he has him handcuffed up and he's like asking him if he remembers who he is, and he's slowly starting to have his memories return. But we go to Bucky in a therapy session where he's basically kind of denying that he's having these nightmares. And he obviously doesn't want to be there. He's a reluctant patient.
Wow. How many people want to be
I was just going to
therapy?
say it's kind of a trope is the whole reluctant therapy patient. And it turns out he was wanted for his crimes as the Winter Soldier. He has now been pardoned, however, and there are conditions of his pardon. He needs to essentially make amends. And the conditions were, I'm not sure if we got these perfect, but...
these were the three things he had to do to make amends.
Yeah, in order to fulfill the conditions of his pardon.
Yeah.
One was, obviously, he can't do anything illegal, which he obviously breaks, because he doesn't actually technically do anything illegal other than
punch someone in the face.
Yeah, doing violent stuff. But then that's the second condition, cause no harm. And then he's got to also deny the fact that he's the Winter Soldier. He can't let anybody know who he is.
No, it's not the fact that he can't let anybody know who he is. He has to let people know that he's not the Winter Soldier anymore and that he is James Buchanan Barnes. So that's what he says. Well, it's not that he's not letting them know. It's like he's telling them, I am no longer the Winter Soldier.
Orange. Okay. So then, I actually got a quote, what he says, though, to her, because when she's she calls his BS, she calls him on his bullshit and says that because she's obviously a retired soldier, she knows what it's like suffering from guilt, post-traumatic stress disorder, the guilt of taking lives and causing grief for people, and he turns around and delivers this really nice, touching speech about how he, had one moment of peace and calm when he was in Wakanda, and he's essentially gone from one fight to another for the last 90 years, and he doesn't really, he's not had a chance to get peace, and that's what he wants. But she calls him on his BS, and I have to say though it's not a good therapist to turn around and say bullshit. Yeah. I know what it's like. I know what you want.
You also missed out the fact that he goes to his little handbook of names of people that he needs to make amends with, and we instantly said, "Well, look at that, Zemo's on there." So these are people that he has to kind of go out and stop, is what we initially thought.
Or he has people he's got to stop, and then people he's got to make amends to.
Yeah, but remember, making amends could be putting a bad guy in jail.
What that tells me is the therapist told him that this is a list to make amends, but he himself made two lists. There's a list that he's going to stop, and a list that he's going to make amends.
Yeah. You are over 100 years old, and you have no family and friends. Yeah, that was a horrible thing for a fucking therapist.
Well, and he calls her out on her bullshit and says you're not a very good therapist. So Bucky, it turns out, has befriended an old man. His name is Mr. Nakajima. and he goes. He wants to take him out for dinner and whatnot. It's kind of like this nice little sort of like father who's lost his son wants to befriend a young fellow, and a father who doesn't have any parents wants to befriend someone who could be
and the funny thing is, Bucky's older than him.
Yeah. But I got the impression in the conversation, though, when they were talking about people who aren't making it past 90, that Nakajima was probably a war veteran himself. And he was referring to maybe old war buddies.
No, it might have been maybe Korea War or Vietnam War, but it wouldn't have been Second World War.
Anyway, Nakajima sets him up with the really nice waitress at the restaurant that they're at, and she agrees, and she says, yeah, come meet me after I'm done work. And then we cut back to Sam, now on his way to meet with his family, with his sister and his nephews.
This entire part of the show, this plot line or this subplot of the show is what I found boring.
Well, it's character development, but it's just not very strong character development. It feels a little bit contrived. But we do get to meet his family. We get to meet his sister and find out that his sister didn't get snapped, and she has basically been trying to hold the family together in his absence for the last 5 years. So she's been going through stuff, and we find out that she wants to sell the family business, which is a trawler.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to sell the family business. He's like, nope, this isn't going to happen. I'm going to do everything I can to stop the business from being sold.
Yeah, I got the general feeling there from that whole throwback was that before he was blipped, the family business was doing fine, the trawler was working, and it was something that he saw his mum and dad leave to the both of them. And then obviously with just her and two young boys during the snap, the 5 years of the snap, struggled to keep it, I don't want to use this pun, but afloat.
Mm-hmm. That's probably where the pun comes from, though.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it's 100% where it comes from.
This is a common thing about the episode, which is another kind of complaint to me. Why they really want to go. I appreciate them going gung ho with character development, but I think they tried to put too much in this first episode because we're going back and forth so quickly between Sam and
because they're very different stories, one of them's more interesting.
Yeah, and I think though that's the contrast on purpose. Mm-hmm. But I feel it probably would have been better to just concentrate this episode on the Falcon.
And then next week
you'd start next week, you have like a set piece with Winter Soldier, which turns out to be the flashback, and you could have had that instead of being just a couple like a 30-second flashback. You could have had this whole thing of showing the Winter Soldier doing his badass shit, and you think, and then you got some intrigue from being like, wait, what's going on? Like,
why is he gone back to his old ways? And then it turns out it's a dream.
But anyway, I'm not the director, I'm not the writer, so
yeah.
But we snap back to Bucky. He's on his date. But again, the best character development parts are anything with Bucky.
Yeah. Because
this whole conversation he has, again, I didn't take any names. I forgot what her name was. But he's having a conversation with her where he's got a little bit of dramatic irony going on his behalf, where it seems to her that he's joking around with, I'm 106 and whatnot, and when she asks him about the gloves and whatnot,
he says I have poor circulation.
Yeah, and so the dramatic irony being we know is the Winter Soldier and she doesn't. I can't remember if it cuts to them playing Battleship or if it goes back to another scene with Sam, though.
Well, let's talk about the Battleship scene anyway.
Well, yeah, because I mean, it basically ends up with us finding out that Mr. Nakajima is actually the father of the janitor he killed in the night,
which I didn't get the first time around
in the dream, and so then that's where you find out that this list isn't necessarily a list of people he's trying to kill
or
it's a list. It's a list of people he's trying to make amends to.
Now, yeah, because Nakajima's at the top of that list, whereas I think the one that he gets arrested is like 8 people down.
I like the relationship between them two, though.
Well,
I think it's cute.
Well, we find it out because he has a sudden sense of guilt and goes to see him, and that's where you then see the picture of the janitor in the background, and that's when you first learn it.
Yeah, I learned, Kushal. I learned at the end when he sees the picture and whatnot.
Yeah, when he goes to the door and he uses the ruse. Oh, I forgot to pay for lunch.
What is it in the conversation with the girl he's on the date with that triggers that again?
I can't remember, but obviously through he's making amends. He's not going to break the law. He's not going to hurt anyone, and he's got to say at the end, "I am no longer the Winter Soldier. I am Bucky Barnes." So I felt at that point that he was going to go tell Nakajima, the one that killed his son. but he bottled it. He chickened out at the end. When he got there, he was about to do it. He was about to say he was about to make amends, but he didn't have the courage or bravery to tell somebody that he's befriended, I killed your son. I was the Winter Soldier.
Well,
and he makes it. Oh, I forgot to pay for lunch.
That
Gives him lunch
shouldn't
money.
be his end point, though. Like, if he wants to make amends, doing what he's doing is the best alternative. Is giving this old man a friend.
But she makes out the whole point of making amends is for number 3.
Yeah.
To tell them, I am no longer the Winter Soldier. I am James Buchanan Barnes.
See, even there you go. I just have this thought right now. Even the Winter Soldier character development seems a little contrived. Why? Why does he have to do that? If I was a therapist and I was trying to help Bucky re-assimilate to modern day society, I would be like, no, we're gonna forget the whole Winter Soldier thing. It's actually classified. Yeah, it's classified. You do not need to tell anyone. Like that. Those 3 conditions seem a little daft to me.
Yeah, if he'd come up with that on his own, that would have made more sense than a therapist tell him. If Bucky had said, "Listen, I did some horrible things. I have to make right some wrongs," and by doing that, then he wouldn't have these stupid rules, and he has to tell him there's a Winter Soldier. He could just have befriended Nakajima and had a friend and looked after him in his old age.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I thought he was doing. Yeah. I don't think it was a thing that he figured out on the fly. I think he's intentionally befriended this old man,
and that's why his name's on the list
to try to make amends, to try to help him out.
But his stupid rules. That third rule is he's eventually going to have to tell Nakajima that he killed his son.
Yeah. So anyway, we go back
which will undo all the good work that he's done.
Yeah. So we go back to Sam with his family making Meals on Wheels or something. It doesn't really say what they're doing, but I guess
I don't know, but I wanted some. It looked good.
I imagine that the idea is that him and his family, they're
post snap.
They're community people. They help out the community and whatnot. But she is convinced by Sam to go to the bank to take out a loan to try and save the business. And we have this fun MCU,
but stupid MCU thing.
It's a fun MCU moment where it's like, I know you. Oh, you're Falcon. But then it's also kind of daft because we start getting this whole backstory about how the Avengers get paid, and he's like, oh, it's not that simple. You know, we're on goodwill, and I'm like, bullshit.
And I'm sorry.
There's no way one of the saviors of the world, one of the fucking Avengers, is like on
none of the Avengers get paid
on goodwill. Like, yeah, there was no like trust funds or anything. Like, don't get me wrong.
Sam's military pension alone.
I was just gonna say it's a little bit of a nitpick, but even with that considered as a nitpick, he's an Air Force man. He's a veteran.
Yeah, Now, I'm not saying it would pay him millions, but here's the stupidest thing about that entire thing. Why does Sam need a loan?
What does God need with the starship?
Yeah, but no, I'm going to say, what does Sam have that is worth billions of dollars that he could sell?
The Falcon wings.
His fucking wings! Oh, fuck this, I need some money.
Or he's a bad government contractor and he needs to become a merc instead he wants some money for this, you know.
He's got state-of-the-art Stark Tech wings with a super weapon system strapped to his back. Just sell that motherfucker.
Again, it's because this episode's all character development, and they really wanted to show us that Sam and his family are
struggling.
Well, but also that they're good people, they're community people. You know, even when they're struggling, she's still making meals for the community.
Then they went about it wrong, saying that they didn't have money. You've got an Avenger who's probably got money from being an Avenger. He's got state-of-the-art technology that he could flog.
Well, the hand-waved line is that you have no credit for the last 5 years. And she's like, well, how can you have credit if you don't exist? And then the guy turns around and again says, well, things have changed.
And it'd be like, I'm sorry.
How? Surely all these people coming back from the dead would have caused a boom in the economy, no?
Well, let's say Sam was snapped out and had 10 grand in the bank.
Villain of the next phase of the taxes.
Yeah, the tax man. But let's say Sam had 10 grand, just $10,000 in the bank. 5 years of interest. He didn't spend any of his money. So what happened to all his money?
It's funny because you haven't played Red Dead Redemption, but there's a scene in Red Dead Redemption 2 where one of the characters, John, has to go get a loan so that he can build a farm for his family, and the bank that he goes to reminds me of that, like a little Wild West money lender. Like, why didn't he go to the Bank of America or
why
American
didn't he go
Express
to what's it called?
City Financial?
Yeah, City Financial, and they'd definitely give him a loan. But he should
have loans.
No, Capital One Mastercard. Yeah. But why didn't he go to the Chase Bank? Or it just the entire Sam's storyline from this episode just made me head scratch, and like it just didn't make any sense, really.
But this is why I said the episode was passable to me, because those are still kind of nitpicks. It's lazy, but it's character development for characters who don't have it. And what we get from this at the end of the day is that Sam and his family are struggling and have had under hard times, and Falcon, Winter Soldier, Bucky, he's struggling with his guilt and making friends. So there you go. That's why they both have to inevitably come together and work together.
With the Wilson family struggling with money, it was set up. The reason why they had the money part there was to put conflict between Sam and his sister.
Yeah.
Hang on, I'm just saying it would have been better to me is if the sister just resented Sam for not being around for the last 5 years, because irrational resentment would happen like that. Even though it's not Sam's fault he got snapped, she could resent him for leaving him for 5 years.
Well, there was a little bit of that.
But that's what they should have played on, not the fact that they didn't have any fucking money.
All right, so we snap cut again to Switzerland, to dish fights, where the Army Ranger guy, I'll learn his name, is tracking down the Flag Smashers.
You'll learn his name, and in tonight's episode I'll get killed off.
And he's tracking down the Flag Smashers, and it turns out one of the Flag Smashers who was stealing bags of money.
Yeah, he jumps out the window with 2 big bags of money, because if you're going to steal money in the modern day and age, you want it in cash.
So the demonstration outside was a distraction.
Yeah, so basically what I got from that is the Flag Smashers had sent out like a broadcast to an app, and that's what all those people were doing on the phone. The guy shows up, and it sets them off, and he gives that thing, and then the app goes off, and it says run. Mm-hmm. So he wants them to all look the same. It was very V for Vendetta. All of them wearing the same masks, so that they could the guys get away with it by merging into the mayhem of crowd.
And it turns out he has super strength as well, very much like Winter Soldier and Captain America. Maybe the guy has had serum or whatever.
There needs to be a solution to this. I mean, Sam wasn't the only one who came back to... Yeah, that's true. Like what do you do with half the population that comes back?
I'm glad I wasn't the only one who thought this watching this episode.
But that's why we think that it was lazy writing to put in that, you can't get a loan, you're a bit short on money.
Yeah, see, in my notes I put, they go to the bank to get a loan, but he has no credit, question mark, question mark, question mark.
Yeah.
Does
that mean he can't get a cell phone either? Or a vehicle loan?
So then we come back to them, now coming out of the bank, where she explains...
hang on. Let's just go back to the Flag Smashers, because we realise that it's not just Flag Smasher working on his own. Because he jumps out, he's got his 2 bags, and then 2 of his accomplices, he holds out the bags, they take the bags and run off in the opposite direction. That's when Army Ranger guy takes off his mask and confronts him and gets his ass kicked, but it's all on camera.
Yeah. So anyway, we're back with Sam and his sister, and this is where we find where they have a little conversation together, where she's basically explaining that she's had to keep everything together over the last 5 years. It's been hard, so you get that, like I said, the little signs of resentment. And so Sam resolves that he's going to go and get the boat all fixed up and ready to go, and he's not going to let the family business go out.
Well, that's the stupid thing about her wanting to sell it. It's a piece of shit. She won't get any fucking money for it. It's a junk boat. Yeah, Sam goes in to fix it.
It's at this point as well where we find out that basically the reason he doesn't make money is because he's just doing government contracts on the side. He's a hired gun, essentially. He's not really an Avenger. Or what he was doing at the beginning of the episode, that wasn't Avenger stuff.
No, then we started discussing that the Avengers probably at the moment are in disarray, because you've had Cap grow old.
Theory crafting.
All right, no, I'm just saying they're in disarray because Cap's old, Iron Man's dead, the compound is obliterated, so we don't know what state the Avengers are in. And I got from this...
Avengers Tower has been turned into a condominium building.
Yeah, and I got the sense from this, the fact that Rhodey was at the beginning still in his Air Force uniform. He was an Avenger for the 5 years that they were gone.
Yeah, but what's Happy doing?
He's with Spider-Man. He looks after Spider-Man.
That's what I'm saying. So there's obviously some of Tony's assets still around.
Yeah, so Happy is basically running the Spider-Man program, because Far From Home set after this.
Which is an Avenger initiative.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Happy's probably the boss of the Avengers right
Maybe.
now. Good on you, Favreau.
But as I say though, I get the sense from the fact that Rhodey is back in the Air Force, and
we'll get into that. We're almost done. So Sam's trying to fix his boat when Army Rangers guy texts him, shows him what's been going down in Switzerland, and we just have a little bit of sort of like back and forth about it. This is this is the most story that we get in this episode until oh shit, sister comes in, turns the TV on. You got to watch this, and the big ending scene. We find out that the not Ministry of Defense, that's the British one.
Department of Defense.
Department of Defense, the Secretary of Defense has gone against Sam's wishes and has given the shield to Wyatt Russell.
Yeah, John Walker.
John Walker's his name. That's the character's name. And yeah, they've announced there's a new Captain America, and that obviously Sam's going to be pissed off about that. We also had the moment with Bucky as well, going to Nakajima, but we talked about that.
Yeah. The shock reveal at the end of John Walker as Captain America.
What time?
What do you mean?
What time is it?
It is 9:40.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna have to start wrapping up soon.
Okay, so we'll just quickly go over the John Walker thing. I didn't see that coming. That was the first part of the episode that made me go, huh? What the fuck's this? And actually make me think about it. As I say, we said our overall thoughts. I'm hoping that.
What's with that grin though?
Can't
do it.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm Captain America.
That's funny as well. We got both Russells in the Marvel Cinematic Universe now.
Well, did we not pick Wyatt Russell for Sabretooth that you picked in our casting call for
one of the X-Men? Sure, yeah.
I think you picked Wyatt Russell. So that would be blown out of the water because he's now Captain America. I know from seeing trailers that was kept quiet because he wasn't in any of the trailers except one where he's running. It's a backward shot of a guy dressed in a Cap outfit. He's got the most squarest
jaw.
No, Henry Cavill's got the squarest jaw. Captain Britain.
I thought the girl he went on a date with had a squarest jaw.
No, hers was triangular.
Her chin was triangular, but the jaw was square.
But you see
why she looked weird.
You see Wyatt Russell's character in one of the trailers where he's running at what looks like a football match from behind. But obviously it's a shot from behind, so during the trailers we never know anything about it. But you're right, this episode was just we have this show now. Everybody start watching. Next week will be more story.
And also character development.
Yeah.
Like
give us more
this is where Bucky's at, and this is what he's going through. This is where Sam's at. This is what he's going through. Okay. That's out of the way. Now we can do stuff.
The one thing that surprised me is I don't understand why Bucky just didn't go back to Wakanda.
Yeah, because Okoye would have probably welcomed him back.
Yeah. Well, Black Panther would. Black Panther's still around.
Oh, he's the king, isn't he?
Yeah. Chadwick Boseman's dead, not Black Panther. So the Black Panther is still there. So and he's buddies with Black Panther. He's buddies with them.
If that's not because of Chad Boseman's death, I'm not an idiot. But I am an idiot because I was thinking that because he was I was about to say but he got snapped.
But he got brought back. Yeah. I'm hoping that it gets better because it's nowhere near the level of WandaVision at the moment.
I think it's completely unfair to compare them because one is like I say a J.J. Abrams mystery box style weird.
It did something. It's something we'd never seen before. Now, one good thing I will say about this is I don't think we'll get the amount of crazy ass internet theory crafting.
You think so? Oh well, just you watch.
Maybe the new Captain America is Mephisto.
No.
Somebody's got to be Mephisto.
Mephisto's Mephisto, and he's in the comics, and so far he's not in the.
He could have been
MCU.
in it from the start.
This is what bugs me so much about all this Mephisto crap because
it's never even been mentioned.
Well, yeah, so people are getting it from comic book references, but that's one thing that the MCU's done very well. They've established the MCU on its own merits. Now, yes, it's obviously all inspired from Marvel Comics, but they've never relied on
you being a comic book nerd
to be able to piece together anything, and that's the biggest problem with that. And it's one of the reasons, again, passing grade for me because this episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier was just
Captain America and the Winter Soldier would have been so much better.
Yeah, no, it was just a simple let's throw these two characters on screen and see if we can get people to like them.
The best thing it did for the story arc of the show, I think it did, was show Yeah, there you go. Stan Lee's Mephisto.
Yeah.
Um,
No, isn't he? What's he
he's a
called?
Watcher,
Yeah.
and that was established when he's chatting to him on the planet. No, what I think this episode did was establish that Flag Smasher is of super soldier strength, and that Sam will try and take him down, but be unable to because Sam's just a normal dude, and he will reach out to Bucky, and that's how we will get the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, because we do know that Sam has been trying to contact Bucky, and Bucky's ignoring him.
And do you know what would be funny? Is if the new Captain America, what's his name again?
John Walker.
John Walker is sent to stop Flag Smasher, and Flag Smasher just snaps him in half, destroys him instantly.
Yeah. And that's why they, what's it called? Sam finds out I need the serum too.
Maybe.
I don't know, because that's what I'm saying. There's no real theory crafting, to be honest, because there was no plot elements. It was all character development, so there's not really much to go into.
I think you find Flag Smasher is working for Zemo. That's what I'm... Because we know Zemo's the bad guy for this whole series.
Yeah.
And that he doesn't want superheroes around. So I'm thinking we'll find out a bit more about Zemo, what happened to Zemo, and a bit more about Flag Smasher.
Either they recreated the super soldier serum, or this guy, the Flag Smasher, is one of the
escaped Winter Soldiers, is what you said, and I think that's actually a really, really good.
Maybe someone Bucky even knew, and maybe that's why we're having these Bucky flashbacks with his nightmares. Maybe next episode we'll have a nightmare where he's on a mission with one of the other Winter Soldiers.
If you think about it,
and this ends up.
Well, no, if you think about it, Zemo supposedly, as far as we know from the movies, killed all the other Winter Soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
He finds the complex, and when Tony and Cap show up, they're all dead in their pods.
Yeah, but Zemo was going to kill himself as well, so like...
Yeah,
so
but you can always write yourself out of a corner.
Yeah, especially in the MCU.
So maybe Zemo kept one of them alive, and that is a Flag Smasher. The Flag Smasher is headed by some woman.
Oh, we've been staying away from the trailers and stuff.
Yeah, we're trying to... With all these shows, we're trying to stay away from them, so we watch them like Virgin style.
Well, and it kind of, I feel like it benefits our live streams too, because there's so many people out there live streaming and talking about this who are like knowledgeable, and they're all
super into
comic
it
nerds
and come up with so many Mephisto theories.
Yeah, we're trying to basically
be the everyman, the everyman of YouTube.
We're the MCU layman. We know very little about the backstory of a lot of MCU stuff, and we don't do.
And
we do our research, but we don't do a lot of like headhunting into things that are going on behind the scenes.
You just spoiled it. Spoilers. But we do know as well from what you said.
Well, we don't know who the woman
Tony
is.
Stark at this point has planned. Tony Stark, build this in. No, has planned to give Peter all his technology.
Yeah,
that's not quite happened yet because we're a few months away from that.
Do you think in Civil War the fact that Falcon and Winter Soldier have their throwdown with Peter Parker, do you think that means anything?
That would be a cameo of Luke Skywalker proportions.
Spider-Man shows up?
Yeah.
But he shows up to thwart them. He thinks they're, what's it called? Maybe they're off doing something like Black Ops.
Trying to stop Zemo.
Yeah, and Peter thinks that they're villains, and he's like, I'm going to come stop you.
That would mean, though, that this series is spread out over a very long period. Because remember, this is set right after the blip, and Spider-Man, I think, Far From Home is 6 months after.
And is Tom Holland expensive? I don't think he is.
And he hates Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan, and they hate him as well.
Really?
No, it's they always rag on each other.
Oh, okay.
It's like a fake feud. But if that was to be the case, Peter hasn't done any Spider-Man-y stuff in 6 months since he got blipped back. He's taken a hiatus, and it's Happy gives him the glasses, and that's when he comes back in.
Not the Luke level cameo.
Yeah,
again.
the Luke level cameo is Spider-Man. Michael said it. So this show would have to be spread out over like 8-9 months, which I don't think it will. I think this will be wrapped up very quickly. And again, I think this is more likely to set us up for a movie than WandaVision was.
Speaking of wrapping up very quickly, what's your score out of 10?
5.6.
6.5.
5.6, yeah.
I'll mirror you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Inverse.
Palindrome.
Yeah.
Number palindrome.
I actually enjoyed it a bit better the second time I watched it because we were watching it more for trying to spot stuff. Whereas whenever I watched it the first time, I always try and just get in the mindset, rather than analysing it, watch it as if I was just not somebody who does this shit on the internet.
I think it suffers because there's very little story.
Yeah,
but
Charles gone 6. He's split both of us.
yeah, I think it suffers because there's not much story. But where it lacks in story, at least they tried to develop the characters more, and they're going to really need to develop these characters in order to make the series progress. And so that's pretty much where I'm at.
And potential. Give me your thoughts of what you think might happen tonight.
No idea.
I think we're going to find out Flag Smasher's working for Zemo, and new Captain America is going to get instantly killed and annihilated.
Yeah, I like that idea. But I have no theory crafting at all.
Anyway, thanks for joining us. What are we talking about this week on the podcast, Michael? Something that is a hot topic at the moment, and you love, and I'm just getting into.
We're going to be talking about Season 1 of The Expanse.
And I've watched the entire series once through, and I'm now rewatching it again, and it's one of my favorite sci-fi shows of all time now. It's like not quite Battlestar Galactica proportions, but the second through time I've watched it, I've liked it even more. And my hatred for one of the main characters has become less. I actually like James Holden a bit better now.
Cameo predictions. Spider-Man.
For this episode, no, I don't think there'll be any cameos, but I think we'll be introduced to Zemo. But yeah, join us for our podcast about the Expanse discussion. Anything else you want to add, Michael?
No, just if you really like what you see, give us a thumbs up, give us a thumbs down if you don't like what you see. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already.
Leave us some comments, like Kashal, who's awesome at leaving comments.
He's our VIP.
VIP Kashal, yeah.
VIP MVP.
Yeah, definitely. And then next week, same time, we might be a bit earlier next week for our live chat. We're going to run it this way again. We're going to review this week's episode next week and then come up with what we think about our thoughts. So, anything else?
No. And until next time, see you later.
Yep. Have a great weekend.